What's up, y'all? This is Anthony James, host of the Grindhouse Podcast. I have a special guest.
Yes.
We got the team. The team is starting to come about. Hannah Ebogau.
Yes.
Yes. How are you, Hannah?
I'm so good. So pumped to be here. It's fun to be in a place that I work.
Is this your first podcast ever?
No, it's actually my third one being a guest podcast.
Okay. What other podcasts have you done?
I have been on Online Entrepreneurship Academy with dietitian Deanna, and I've been on Biscuits and Gravy with Steph and Bree Gilbert.
Okay, I want to learn about what Biscuits and Gravy.
Yeah.
That seems like just a chill spot.
They are two Black sisters that played in the WNBA, and they just literally, one of them's a dietitian, and they talk about health and wellness, and then they also just talk about life. Okay. It's great.
I'm trying to get Terrell to start talking about love and stuff like that, but he just won't do it. But we're gonna get him, man. We're gonna get him. We gotta find out about that old school love. Make people know that there's still a chance, there's a shot out there for them. So.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Hannah is an alumni of Baylor University.
Bears.
Baylor University. I always want to say University of Baylor. I think everybody always does that.
That's fair.
Graduate of Bishop Lynch High School.
All right. Go Friars.
Go Friars. Okay. Yes. All right, Hannah. So let everybody know what you do with Grindhouse. Let's start there.
So I am a registered and licensed dietitian, but here at Grindhouse, I serve as the performance specialist when it comes to nutrition and performance. And so what I do is I have athletes that are trying to get to the next level. Grindhouse breeds athletes, and their main goal is to get athletes to, whether it's like to be on the varsity team or to make it to the next level in college athletics, and Terrell's done a great job of doing that. And so I come along and I'm like the cherry on top. I give it a little bit more of a spice. I set the boys and the girls up for success a little differently than most athletes are in high school and college.
So as a dietitian, because I'm hearing dietitian, I'm hearing, all right, you're just going to tell me what I got to eat and I'm just going to do it.
No.
So let people know what it is a dietitian truly does.
Yeah, I think, so yes, there are some dietitians that are like, here's your meal plan. Most dietitians aren't like that. That's a nutritionist. Fun fact, nutritionists and dietitians are not the same thing. They're different. So that's more of like the nutritionist role. Here's your meal plan, like go run with it. Good luck. Pay me a bunch of dollars. Whereas dietitians, we have a clinical background, and so we can take an athlete, and if there's something genetically going on or clinically based that's happening, we walk alongside them in their food choices, and we make sustainable practices. So most of my athletes, sure, I would love for them to work with me forever, but they are set up for success, that they don't need me for forever, because I'm teaching them along the way with their specific individualized lifestyle and their habits.
So as obviously we with Grindhouse, we start with as young as 6 years old. We go up as far as college age, and of course start training for pros and play. For a father who has a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
How could you help my kids when it comes to a dietitian? I can't just give them Lunchables and peanut butter and jelly and that's it.
Hey, I mean, you could. I'm not going to tell you no. What I believe in nutrition by addition. And so what that kind of looks like is like, sure, if you give them a Lunchable at lunch, great. But then breakfast and dinner, I would want to see like true meals. And that encompasses a protein, carb, veggies. And I think at that age, it's more so learning about the food, whether it's the kids get to try and develop their taste buds, their texture sensitivities and things of that nature. It starts at a really young age. You would be so surprised by the pro guys that I work with, how many of them have like texture sensitivities or like truly just don't even know what a vegetable is.
I don't like a lot of salt. Like I just started eating mashed potatoes for like 5 years ago.
Shut up. You're missing out.
Like I eat them now, but before I just couldn't get with the soft texture.
Exactly. And those types of things, especially texture, starts at a really young age. Your taste buds change constantly. And so that is different. But texture wise, that starts so young. Okay.
So what about those things like, all right, my kid doesn't like green beans or things like that. So
great.
Are there things that are like, hey, here's some, because vegetables I think is a hard thing for kids.
They are.
So
what is interesting about vegetables is people think that they can only stick to the 5, and it's typically green beans, carrots, corn, which I say that lightly because I don't really count it as a vegetable. broccoli and like a potato.
Yes.
Again, wouldn't necessarily count potato as a vegetable, but there's a plethora. Yeah, there's a plethora of different vegetables out there that, because your taste buds change so often, it's all about trying them. And I think people are so afraid. They're like, if I'm eating a vegetable, it has to be fresh. There's nothing wrong with cooking them. There's nothing wrong with seasoning them. Like, I don't understand.
Listen, you see us. We are going to season our food.
Exactly. And I'm talking like people, I think, like when I eat a salad, I'll season my salad.
Okay.
Like the black pepper that people put on, like Caesar salads, that makes a difference. Like so different. Like I put Slap Your Mama or Tony's on my broccoli, and I roast it, and I add garlic, like true garlic minced in, and add lemon. It tastes completely different. I'm sorry, I'm not eating raw.
No, nobody
broccoli.
just want to just sit here and eat just
exactly.
raw broccoli.
Or like a veggie plate versus roasted seasoned veggies, completely different. But it doesn't necessarily change the nutritional value.
We'll put, like, I like the grill, so I'll put vegetables on the grill. So you'll see us put squash and zucchini and asparagus on the grill. It gives it a whole different
1000%
like that. So how did you? So let's start from the beginning. So I know we already went to what you do here and those things, but you had to have a journey to get you to this. So where did you start? Where it's like, okay, health and fitness is a big part of my life. So where was the beginning for you?
So fun fact, most people don't know this, so this will be a grindhouse secret. But I used to dance. I danced my whole life. I was on the drill team, wore the hat, did the jump splits, did the whole thing. Yeah, crazy. Well, I left drill team because I broke my hip, and I became a powerlifter. Completely 180.
Broke your hip and then started powerlifting.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Truly. But I did, and that's what started like my awareness of like my body, my awareness of my strength, the health and wellness aspect, because it is a weight class based sport. And so when I went to Baylor, I was an education major. I was like, I don't really need to do that.
Everybody was. I was an education major.
Yeah, everybody
starts. Was a teacher. Yeah,
exactly. But then I was like, this is not for me. They put me in a classroom, not for me. And I took like a career advising assessment, and it showed dietitian on there. And I obviously had just been super interested in nutrition, being a powerlifter, but I'm also someone, and like, true transparency, I'm a mid-sized dietitian. I'm not what people typically envision as a dietitian. I'm not paper thin or anything like that. And so I've always been just conscious of my weight and then doing a weight class based sport that adds another layer. And so I took like 2 nutrition classes and fell in love. I realized that there was a place for me as a mid-sized dietitian, as well as a Black dietitian. And then I also had this love for sports. Coaching and football is wrapped around in our household and in our family so much that I was like, I love the world of sports. I love the grind that it takes. And then adding the layer of nutrition on there, it was a way for me to kind of do a little bit of both and still be in the weight room.
So how was your journey with sports, and obviously the love of sports? Where has your journey, after graduating Baylor, where did your journey take you within sports first?
Yeah. So sports is hard as a dietitian, and just as a female, there's not a ton of women in sports. So to figure out that niche, you really have to, it is a who do you know world. And so I got connected through an internship with this girl. Her name is Brianna Butler, and she's actually one of the owners of the Biscuits and Gravy podcast. Okay. So she played in the WNBA, and she was awesome of just like ensuring that I kind of had some type of route. But I also interned at Exos. Exos is a high elite sports training facility across the country. And so when I interned there, that really got me in the door because that's my first encounter working with pro athletes. So I worked a lot with the NFL. I did the NFL draft prep my first time working there. And then I did a lot of the training for the guys. I had the rugby team from the UK at the time. And so the strength-based world was my thing, but that opened a ton of doors because sports is who you know, and athletes athletes stick with who they trust.
Right.
And so the second I gained the trust with them, they didn't see me as an intern. Truly, they saw me as their dietitian because I was so far along in school that they were like, "Hey, we trust Hannah. Hannah's given us everything that we needed. She's up to date on her supplement, like knowledge and all the things that we need to be regulated by, and she shows us results." And so that completely changed the game because of them. So I'm really thankful for the athletes I met at Exos.
That's dope. So as a Black woman, I don't shy away from
this.
Hey,
I love it.
As a Black woman, when it comes to a Black woman in sports, how hard was it for you?
Hi, I'm Shane with Restore Hyper Wellness right here in Murphy, Texas. I'm proud to say we're partners with Grindhouse Sports Training just next door in Wiley. Now, Coach Washington over at Grindhouse Sports Training has done a phenomenal job at not just building out a business in the community, being a pillar in the community, but also being an inspiration to the young, talented kids that he trains each and every day. Now, last year, Coach Washington started a podcast, a Grindhouse podcast. The links are below. I encourage each and every one of you to go check this out. Listen to it, like it, enjoy it. Coach Washington will walk you through his personal experiences, what motivates him, what made him what he is today, and why he's so effective at being a phenomenal leader to these young, talented individuals. Check out the podcast. We'll see you soon.
To build that trust compared to the contemporaries around you, where it seems that it's always trusting as to they know food or they know diet, or because let's be honest, I mean, obviously I can't see Hannah, but listen, we're not talking about paper thin, we're not talking about skinny women.
I'm built. I'm mid-size, right. Like the definition of mid-size.
We strong.
Yes.
So how hard was it for you to build that trust with these athletes, or do you feel like that matters when it comes to, because I feel
yes, 1,000%. I think you can't work with athletes without building the rapport of trust. And so for me, it was for them to understand, it wasn't like even though I'm mid-size, it's not like I don't look like I'm in shape. Yes. Yeah, I was like, without me being like, here's my body, let me just describe it on this podcast.
We're not trying to do that, but you're in shape.
Yes, like I still had a very athletic build to me, and so I think that they saw that. I think that they also had trust in the fact that I was Black. We can't stray away from the fact that a lot of athletes are people of color.
Yes.
But the people that work with them, especially on the healthcare side, typically aren't people of color. And so they don't understand their cultural backgrounds and their cultural needs. One thing that I really try to strive for is that if my athlete is from a certain area or a certain culture, that I incorporate their food into their culture, because there's a lot of times, especially in America, that we're like, oh, Southern food, Jamaican food, Mexican food, yes. It's all bad for you when it's not. That's someone's traditional way of eating, and so we can't just say some cultural food is negative for them. So it was part of all of that kind of mixed in together, but also breaking down the walls, because athletes, talking about nutrition is talking about your body and it's talking about your healthcare, and those are vulnerable topics. So athletes, you've got to be really intricate on how you break down the walls with them. And I think it also comes into not even just dumbing it down, but having like relational conversations about healthcare, and not seeing that like you're up here as a healthcare provider, but you're on the same page and you're just there to make them a better athlete and a better professional.
Right. And I think just as food in general, we have to kind of start getting out, because obviously growing up Black, we know that the things that we enjoy, they're comfort. They're comfort food. You're going to feel good about it. But there are ways to still eat those things. Like I don't have to put pork and everything. There are different supplements and things like that. Or I don't have to have a heck of a lot of seasonings. Just have to have taste.
Exactly. You can, and like I think you're right. Like you can season your foods, because that's not what's adding the issue for us. It's more so like the fats and the things like that. So how can I alternate the way that you cook and prepare your foods, really, because you can still have the seasoning and the flavor and the comfort that the food has, but it's more so like, how did you prepare it?
Yeah. Now you can't do because I make a roast and I got to put some gravy. Like the gravy probably is a little much, but I can eat the roast without it.
The one thing that I will say that people just go above and beyond is like candied yams. Yeah. I've seen so many Black people just like dump pounds of sugar in that mess. So that's why I'm like, hey, once a year, I got you, fam. I got you.
My daughter, she likes to cook with me, and she'll ask me, well, what's what's the ingredients and what's the measurements and to taste, baby.
Yeah, to taste, exactly.
It's to taste. So obviously when you hear that, because obviously you are in a different world. I don't know. I haven't asked you anything about family. So, but when you go back and you're eating at home and things like that, are you kind of adjusting with what your family is eating, or is it kind of like, you know what? I'm taking today off. I'm just gonna smash this.
So I'm half Nigerian. My dad's Nigerian. I'm first generation here, and then my mom's Black American. Love you, Mom, but she hates cooking, and she's not the greatest at it. She knows that. She'll tell you, "Love you, Mom," if you're listening. But my dad, like, he'll cook like traditional Nigerian food, or he'll like get on the grill every once in a while. But truly, like, I thought I was gonna be a chef too at one point, and so like I've always been in the kitchen. And so yes, when I was in school and like learning about nutrition, I was making small changes because they lead to bigger changes. So I just enacted that and put that into place in my own home, and like the way that I prepare foods, or the like alternatives that I switch out. So yes, and then I've just taught that along the way, because I would be lying if we aren't predispositioned as Black people to have certain disease states, and I will not be one of those people that inquires that. You know?
And listen, I feel like I have to be vulnerable and transparent. I suffer from a little high blood pressure. It does. It's there.
Yep.
I've always been a bigger person.
Yep.
And I can't blame that, because I've always done sports and I've always been athletic. It's just it's just who I've been right here in this center of my body. So for someone like me, who I was about 330 about 5 months ago, I'm down to about 305.
Wow, look at
I haven't been working out though.
That's okay. But if food is the main,
it's been my main culprit of giving up different things. Like, what would you tell someone like me? Like, hey, what would you, if I like? Okay, what's some little small changes that I could probably start making? Because listen, the big changes are hard. It's hard
They're
to say,
so hard.
I'm just giving up beef. I'm just giving up, so what would be some of those small changes you would tell someone who is trying to lose weight? I don't have the time as much as to go do a full hour and a half workout each day.
Totally. First of all, I would tell you to work with me.
Okay.
I mean, point blank. Second of all, I like the big things that I like to harp on is fiber, protein, and periodization. And we
What is that?
So periodization is a term that we use in performance or sports nutrition mostly, but I use it across the board with all of my clients. All it is the timing of food with your schedule or your workout routine.
Okay.
And so if you're on a schedule, one, it helps you to make sure that you're not dismissing your hunger cues, because if you dismiss them and then you're starving, it's not sustainable. So it makes sure that you're still always full, and it also helps your metabolism regulate.
Okay.
And so it's just kind of, I would take like your full schedule, and I would say, hey, this is what time you wake up, this is what time you go to bed, if you're active, this is what time you're kind of at work, and I would kind of break down a schedule for you. And I think that is one of the biggest ones. Protein is a hard one, because I tell my athletes, or I tell male clients, oh, protein, and they just immediately go 0 to 100. And I'm like, you can overdo protein. And protein is expensive, whether you're getting it in food form, which is meat is super expensive right now in the grocery stores, or a protein supplement, also super expensive. And so if you overdo it, like you're breaking it down and you're not storing it the way that you store like fat and carbs. So there's a good grace period, and that's something that like I typically work on with my clients. And then fiber is something that, one, it keeps you full longer and it sustains your blood sugar. So your blood sugar also works hand in hand with your hunger cues, to make sure that you regulate. And so it helps regulate your gut. So there's so much that fiber does, and I feel like it's like the superfood that no one really talks about. So yeah, but then my like other 2 cents is just, if you're drinking a sugary beverage, if we cut that literally just in half, or we give you an alternative, I guarantee weight drops like that.
See, mine's is sweet tea.
There it is.
So if I did half sweet tea, half unsweet tea, maybe a little bit.
Or if we just change out how often we're doing it.
Okay.
I would make that change. If you're doing it regularly, I would make that change first, and then I would go to like, okay, let's see if we can get down to like 1 a day or 1 every other day or whatever it is. Because liquid carbs or liquid calories just do a lot to us.
Yeah, and that's the thing for someone like, and I think that's for a lot of either people of color, things like that. We drink a lot of our calories and our carbs and things like that. From the sodas to the Kool-Aid to the juice. I mean, my family is a juice family.
Yeah.
Like, there are just,
That was the one thing my mom did right. I never had applesauce or apple juice until I went to college. Never knew what it tasted like. She was like, "No, y'all aren't having juice."
I do. Cran apple is delicious. It's so delicious.
I don't think I've ever had that. Like, I've never had that.
Okay. So, as far as you, as far as what you're doing right now, and what are some of the personal goals that you have kind of set for yourself going into the future? Obviously, we know what we're doing here at Grindhouse and things like that, but what are some of your personal goals as to what you're looking forward to?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question because you're asking me at the start of the year. So I have goals.
Perfect.
Galore.
It's only third quarter though, so we're going to do by quarter.
Yeah. So, first, I feel really passionate about like my home, Dallas, and the community. And Dallas has a ton of food deserts, and people that don't have access to food. One of the things that you'll hear me say all the time is, right now, nutrition is a luxury when it needs to be a necessity, and like proper nutrition. And so in that regard, and so my job and what I'm focused on is making sure in my community in DFW that people have access to proper nutrition and it not costing them a fortune, especially with grocery store prices going all over the place. And so what that looks like is me starting sports nutrition programs in different places. I like to gear it towards athletes because you don't realize about 80 to 85% of a high school or middle school is made up of someone that is participating in some type of sport. So that covers majority of their population. So that's key of like what I want to do in my own home. But I'm also working with a hunger initiative to minimize the hunger in our country. And so I have this passion project that I'm working on, and it is like community fridges. And so that's something I'm really excited about and working towards. And that's one of the biggest projects that I'm working on. And then just like personal goals, like I want to hire a team of dietitians. One, because it provides access to more dietitians in performance facilities like Grindhouse, but also it provides them in schools and other places. But it also gives sports dietitians another opportunity to work. Working in the world of sports, people don't hire women a ton because you can't really have the traditional like mom life. And so I don't like that. I'm like, that should not be.
It is such a negative to me. That's usually the reason why, especially when you think of just the amount of, and the way I'm trying to make sure I say this the right way on the podcast. So the front line things that women, especially Black women, do in our culture, in our communities, and things like that. That they're going to fight to make sure that everyone's taken care of. That's why when we talk about food deserts and things like that. I grew up in Flint, Michigan. It is a huge. There are no main grocery stores, so I'm talking about Kroger, Walmart.
Y'all just have convenience. Y'all have gas stations.
Yes, and we have one grocery store, and of course, with the amount of people who are below the poverty line and using EBT and things like that, they're not looking at the price. So these people can just raise the prices to whatever they want to raise them to. So I'm sure it's like that in most cities, like Dallas and things like that. So sorry, I went off on my own tangent.
No, I like that, but it's so. Fun fact, there is less than 3% of dietitians that are people of color or African American. So there's not a ton of dietitians that look like me, let alone that are mid-size either. So I think I bring a unique perspective, especially when I walk into a community. I'm not saying it's not counterintuitive of like, you don't look like me, you don't know what I go through, but it is like, I do look like you, I do know what you're going through, and I've been in this community. I'm not straying away from the fact that I have privilege. I know that, but I also have things that I've had to battle and roadblocks. And so I want other dietitians I want to pave the way so that other dietitians have the opportunity to work and not have to leave their jobs or their families because they want to do sports. Sports has a place for women, and so I hope to broaden that.
And I was actually going to be one of my last questions. So little girls that look like you, those little girls,
I love them.
And they don't know how to get into sports if they're not playing basketball or playing soccer. Because that's essentially basketball, soccer, track are their seem like that. Those are their options in order to be a star inside of the sport. Where I grew up I'm from Flint, so we have Clarissa Shields and someone in boxing and things like that. But that's far and few in between when it comes to being a star. What do you tell a little girl who still has a passion, a love for sports, and she feels her options are limited?
There is a way. And I think that you follow that drive. I think that what's so cool about it is that there are now strength coaches in the NFL. There's coaches and referees. You don't have to be the actual athlete to make it in professional sports anymore, which is awesome. There is a space for us, whether that's in healthcare, whether that's in regulations, whether that's in advertising. There's so much out there and so many opportunities. And I think you find someone to mentor you. I think that there is, like I said earlier, it is all about the power of who you know in sports. And it will be like that for a really long time. And so I think you find someone that is doing what you're doing that is a female, because most females want to help another female. We're not gatekeepers, at least most of us don't try to be. And so I say you reach out, send them a DM. Like there are so many people that I've interned or that have interned with me already that are like, I want to be in sports, and you're doing something that I want to do. Can I just talk to you? And I think it's even a simple conversation of like, let me brainstorm the different avenues and ways that you can get there. But find a mentor, find someone that you can look up to, but don't stop dreaming, because if you stop dreaming, you'll never get there.
All right. Last question.
Yeah.
Fun question. Guilty pleasure food that you're like, you know what? That's it.
Easy.
What is it?
French fries.
French fries? Okay. From where, though?
Probably McDonald's.
Okay.
I know. That's so bad. I would go crazy on a bad day. If I'm having a tough day, a crisp blue Powerade, and a large fry. It's bad.
Listen, it's so good, though.
It's so good. It's so good. And I think that you can have your guilty pleasures, and they shouldn't even be called guilty pleasures because you're doing all the other things at other times, right?
Right.
You know?
Right. Well, guys, Hannah was here for a little bit. I know she had fun.
I loved it. I loved to yap.
Yeah, listen, I'm a talker. That's why I do this.
Yes.
So, we're going to definitely have her back again.
Yes.
We want to make sure that we know what the team is doing, what everybody's doing. Hannah, where can they see you on socials?
Yes. So on Instagram, I'm at freeagent_nutrition, freeagent nutrition. Also, if you just type in my name in anywhere, you will find me. I have a very unique last name, so I'm one in the entire world. Hannah Eboagu, Eboagu. But Free Agent Nutrition is the main one.
That's dope. All right. Well, Hannah, I appreciate you coming and talking with me. We're going to have you back on again. And
I love it.
All right.
I'm excited.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.